cleansing breath. Good evening. I know you're over there. I'm over here, okay? My name is Larry Gurnt, and I am an alcoholic. No, I'm not. Yeah, okay, enough. God, tell the control room. You guys in the control room, man, you just... What am I paying you for? Oh, that's right, I'm not paying you. Oh, that's right, there is no control room. Oh, that's right, I'm doing it all. Good to be with you tonight. The reason I came on is because Lou Elizondo has just given the most revealing interview of his career, I would say. And what was the most revealing thing? I don't want to make you wait for it. Well, there was a couple of things, right? One is that he indicated that he's been warned about what he can say and what he can't say. And we're not talking about, technical details about, you can't tell about this radar thing or this. No, he's been warned about the implications. And you notice the government is trying very hard to avoid the country getting into any deep discussion about the implications of extraterrestrials being here, So I think that's he's being warned about that. And he revealed that I think there are a lot of money interests that are totally against disclosure, of course, because it means the end of their dynasty. And I can't help but remark that was the deal with Jesus too. When the Pharisees were the religious leaders, and they were very hypocritical. They liked to make a big show of themselves, praying fervently, fasting in public, and praying loudly all over the place. And but they were not fond of Jesus at all. He wasn't what they were expecting, for one thing. I mean, that's fair. But the other thing was that once they started seeing these miracles, they started wondering, if they were mistaken, or maybe he was of the devil. But he was not. He was calling them out, and they were the ones that the leaders always presumed themselves to be the most holy, right? So that was very shocking for them, that they were being humiliated, and therefore he had to go. I mean, unless he's willing to sit down and prove that he is the Son of God and that he's got God's powers. And they asked him to do that, and he would not, because he knew their hearts. And I always wondered about that. Well, why not? Why not just go ahead and do it, Just go ahead and prove it. I mean, I know you can. I mean, it's very obvious that he could. If the Holy Spirit, right, the invisible actor there, was willing, then Jesus, he was willing. Jesus was able to do what he did because there was that invisible agent that the Bible calls the Holy Spirit, and that was what was doing it. But he was in charge of directing that spirit as long as that spirit was, as long as his directions were in line with goodness and all that, which of course they were. But when it came to the Pharisees, they were really trying hard to make out, what do we do about this guy? Is he the real thing or not? He won't prove it. In fact, he takes every opportunity, I'm ad-libbing now, to insult us, and calls himself the Son of God, says he was here before Abraham was. Who is this guy? And the reason for all of that rejection was because he didn't accept them. He didn't like their ways. And he gave testimony to them, but they rejected it. So how did I get on that? About being, when Jesus comes, he's going to be rejected again. No, that's not where I was going. That's probably true, but anyway, where are we going with Lou Elizondo talking about? Oh yes, the forbidden stuff, the implications. Yeah, things. To put it real clearly, things are real touch and go right now. It seems like they're definitely wanting to move forward, but Lou has revealed that about half. He didn't give a percentage, but not all of the Pentagon is behind what he's doing. There are wolves, and that was the word he used, I think, and they're looking for any screw up that he can demonstrate in public that would be a good way to take him down. So if he says the wrong word, this is what he said. And this is probably one of my favorite parts of the interview was he said, they're just waiting for me to say one word that I shouldn't say to take me down. And why do they want to take him down? I think he mentions that it has a lot to do with moneyed interests, and there's just a lot of. He gives some great examples, which you'll hear about how there's going to be a few problems because once we admit that. Once the government admits that it has been lying to us, there's going to be a lot of people, Lou thinks, who are going to want to get retribution, for having been lied to. I don't think that's a big problem. I think we can get over that one, Lou. But the other one that he mentions is much, it's interesting because he's saying, and the reason I'm telling you all this first is because I want you to think about it a little bit. And then when you hear him say the same thing, maybe you can solidify your thoughts on what he's saying. And I just thought that would be helpful. I'm not sure. But anyway, yeah. The implications of this topic are huge, and we don't know even roughly how it's all going to shake out. I'm telling you, we've been visited for many years, but we know so little. we know so little. And gosh, and even when stuff does come out, it's like, I mean, nobody even, like, I just came out with um, the explanation for the first time in history about the story of Adam and Eve and why her punishment was pain in childbirth. And if you want to know the answer to that, go look at my video, Adam and Eve Decoded. It went over like a lead balloon. I mean, and this is what I consider probably the greatest discovery of my life. I mean, in terms of, let's focus it down a little bit. In my biblical research world, where I do look for evidence of technology in the Bible, and believe me, there's a ton of it. But in the story of Adam and Eve, it wasn't about technology. It was more about trying to figure out what is this story. Why is this story making it look like God lied because they didn't die? And what is this, pain in childbirth thing? So I spent a lot of time on this. I could not figure out what the Bible was trying to say. And my final conclusion was pretty shocking, because not shocking like anybody did anything really bad, but it was shocking because it was the truth, and it was the first time that anyone had ever been able to put it together, because we have 21st century eyes, and no other generation would have had the ability to put it together like this. And yet, when you announce these kind of things, nobody gives a shit. You got your Bible stuff. Okay, yeah. I'll check it out. I will. It sounds interesting. Or, like I posted my life's greatest discovery, right, in this research, and I posted on I have a Facebook group, Ancient Aliens in the Bible, and I posted it there. There's 3,000 members, most of whom are presumably dead, and I got 0 likes, so I was about ready to shut down the damn channel. My point is that, I don't have a loud voice right now, but even amongst those people that had read the story, had watched the video, there's never been any comments. Even on the Facebook, there's no comments. There's no comments on YouTube either. I get the feeling like people are like, yeah, don't get mad at us. We're willing to listen. Just don't get mad at us if we don't have anything to say right away. Okay, I won't. I totally understand, I think. I was just kind of, wondering if there was any people out there who really did want to kind of understand that story, and apparently nobody really gives a shit. So I'm not going to tell you why Eve's punishment was pain in childbirth. You're going to have to go watch that fucking video yourself. And then, if you'd be so kind, no, I'm not going to ask for anything. God, I'm lucky to have you watch it. But it's not just me. It's like, here's Lou Elizondo coming out saying all kinds of stuff that I know that I've always thought about, what the implications here from this point forward, it could be just utterly amazing. And the world is still, so it's not just me. Anybody could drop anything. And if it's not Joe Biden saying it, then it's probably not important enough to pay attention to, I'm not indicting. I know what it feels like to be a working man. I wish I could just set all of you free right now. That is my deepest desire. Just lift everyone out of poverty and beautiful places to live, new hope, sickness being cured. You know, that sounds like the kingdom of heaven has come to earth. That's what Jesus would say. So if those kind of things start happening, then I would say the kingdom of heaven has come to earth. But what if they're done by extraterrestrials? We're going to have to make a decision about, are they, well, we'll have to talk to them, right? And say, are you really, where's Jesus? Because he was supposed to be bringing all of this, you know? So we're going to have to keep that in mind. But damn it, it's been 2,000 years, and I don't know what the plan is, but if he's coming back, maybe he's coming back with the ETs. I've been putting this together I've been trying to make myself believe that for like 3 years now. And I've been very careful not to just jump to that conclusion, but I'm there now. I don't think it's going to be one or the other. I think it's going to be both. And I think we're going to find that he's been working with other races as well. And we may find out such interesting technical details, like what is Jesus' place in all of this. I mean, we know that he's played a big role in our on our planet, but you know, he did say that I have other sheep that are not of this fold, and them I must also, you know, minister unto, or something like that. That's always been a great line. But I just have to say that it you know, just like when John crossing over with John Edward. Not Edwards, Edward. Anyway, he, you know, when his show came on, he proved that life after death was real, to my satisfaction, and I scrutinized him. And I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. This is really exciting. It was good for me. I needed it. But the world didn't really change at all. I mean, they didn't even hardly talk about it. It was just a popular TV show. Yeah, he's really... Yeah, no, I've heard of that. Yeah, he's... Yeah. Nah, I don't believe in that stuff. Whatever, you know. My dad said he must be a magician. Anyway, God bless him. He's in heaven now, so he knows the truth. God bless me, not him. He's already blessed now. Right, Dad? This is your son doing a broadcast. Doing a broadcast live. I'm live, Dad. Get in the comment room. Give me a super chat. Anyway, folks, don't leave me. I'm still with you, and I'm going to get to this Lou Elizondo and the remarkable Curt Jaimungal who interviewed him. But this is a long 2-hour and 45-minute interview, so I'm just going to be covering the parts that I thought were interesting, and we're going to start right. Let me bring up my notes. So this appears to be the question is, have you ever gotten into trouble for disclosing that we have recovered extraterrestrial material? And instead of saying, hold on, we haven't admitted that yet, he just took it in stride and answered the question. So there you go. Remember that retraction? That you know, that retraction about recovered material, off-world vehicles? The retraction was just a precaution because there, and you'll get this from the interview. You'll find that the government is very twitchy about this right now. They're very divided. It is not a monolith. The Pentagon is not a monolith, and Lou is having to walk a very tight rope, and that's not the right metaphor. Walk a narrow path and evolve it slowly. I would love to know if it's like, if they're having meetings about how to evolve this disclosure process. That would be fascinating to hear. But what you're going to get from this interview is that, at least in Lou's mind, things are going to happen, and they're going to happen soon. And that was just amazing to hear. Just to hear that sense that we're all going to be witnessing like a change that is going to change the world completely. I don't think that he gets all of the good parts that will happen, and maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But if we do get the alien technology like free energy and stuff like that, then we can actually make this a good world. And it's not just about the free energy, but it's about lifting people out of poverty and giving and healing their diseases. It's that, well, we were just on this, right? It's like the end of the world. Type of stuff, apocalyptic type of stuff. So, yeah, the government's really twitchy about it. And they're, of course, they're, God, humans just never seem to do the right thing. Okay. So anyway, on to a more substantive topic that I was just reminded of that also comes up in this interview, is the idea of amnesty for those who have, there's a couple of different categories that Lou mentioned. One was just the category of everyone who kept the secret as they were asked to do should be given amnesty. And anyone who didn't keep the secret should be given amnesty. And anyone in the future who reveals anything cannot be punished for that. And Lou is like all for that. And so there's going to be... I think this is a very wise idea. I mean, it really excites me to think that we are now at the point of, and I heard Lou talking about this, that we're at the point, where we have to consider these kind of things because it's all going to happen. For instance, what about companies that are going to be angry about the fact that they weren't given any extraterrestrial material, whereas other companies were? And then those companies did really well, and the ones that weren't given the material did badly, and that's not fair treatment, and they went bankrupt, and then everyone who invested in them lost money. All those people would like to recoup. So he's thinking about things like that, and he's thinking about, so that's like a government-related thing, and that makes sense that he would be thinking about government. And the other category is, let's see, the first category was people who kept the secret, and the other category was of people who need amnesty was, well, I guess that was it. I mean, basically the idea that let's go ahead and make disclosure not a crime, and then everyone who has anything to say, the government should give us everything that they have on it, except for, yeah, see, that's the trouble, is they're going to hold back for the national security reasons. I think everything just has to come out. I really do. I mean, if we're going to say that, oh, this technology could blow up the world, well, we've already got nuclear technology that can do that. So, I mean, we're already there. So let's not let that be an impedance to disclosure. Come on. So, yeah, I came on today with a complaint that no matter what seems to get disclosed, nothing happens. I mean, maybe that's encouraging to the government, because that means that they can they can tell us that they have actually a 20 tentacle giant squid from Venus that lived in the clouds, and they want to eat us, but we have technology that we can zap them, so it's going to be okay. And then the world will just say, oh, okay, all right. They're not coming here, right? To our country, I mean. Oh, shut up, Larry. You're just not even making sense anymore. I think with that, it's time to go to the interview. So let's just see what the heck Lou has to say about stuff. I think I'm going to start. We're at 23 minutes in.
So you've been warned. Have you ever gotten in trouble? Ross has a sub-question. Have you gotten into trouble for acknowledging that the U.S. has recovered non-terrestrial materials?
Well, they're watching me very closely. They're trying. There's elements that are trying to get me into trouble. So that's why I walk a very fine line. I walk right up to that line, but I won't step over it because they're waiting for me to screw up. They're waiting for me to say one word that I shouldn't say, and in order to use that against me and silence me. So yeah, I mean, I have gotten in trouble. They tried to come after my clearance, like I said, and unfortunately, I had to seek legal counsel to protect my constitutional rights to do so. It seems that they've backed off a little bit for now, but I'm not fooling myself. I know that there's still wolves circling just beyond the limit of the fire that I'm standing next to, waiting for an opportunity. So I'm very mindful of that. But I'll also say that there's some really good elements. I've had an opportunity, sometimes through the worst of adversity, you get a chance to see people at their best. And I've learned that there are people on the inside that really do want to have a conversation and that want to see things done right. And these are senior people. Some of these are very, very, very senior people. And they were willing to put their professional careers on the line to defend me and protect me. And that means a lot. That makes me feel good because.
Yeah, so I thought he was going to go on there, but no. So he has made it real clear right there that they're just waiting to pounce on him. I don't know what exactly he meant when he said they're waiting for me to say one word, pause, that I shouldn't. Is there one word that he has in mind? I don't know. But let's go to the next clip. This one is going to talk about big money interests tied to the government.
Right.
And this is at 26.
Right. There are many people who have super chatted. Don't worry, I'm going to get to them. I have a follow-up question to what you just said, which is there are wolves that are watching you like a hawk. Is there another reason outside of national security that they don't want you to disclose what you may disclose, or they're worried you may?
Great question.
Yeah, I mean,
what is their worry outside of them?
There have been, you know, forbidden truths, we can call them, if you will.
Whew.
There have been forbidden truths in the history of not just our country, but many countries.
Okay, here we
Truths
go.
that could upset a balance, a balance that's been around for a long time. Let me give you case in point. Let's say there were some people that were doing their job by running a UFO program in the past, but because certain things happened, presidents were no longer briefed, people in Congress were no longer briefed who should have been, and now they're running an operation that's uh, considered rogue, but it's still an important mission. Turns out, all of a sudden now, let's say hypothetically, the cat's out of the bag. What's going to happen to those people when the government realizes they were running operations, for better or for worse, without any oversight, without any legal oversight, right? Who's going to be held accountable for that? The fact that they did not brief legally like they were supposed to certain members of Congress and committees and oversight committees and their chain of command. That's potentially criminal action. Let's say, I've said this before, let's say you have two competing companies. You have aerospace company A and aerospace company B. And aerospace company A, for whatever reason, gets a favor and some sort of really exotic, game-changing material is provided to that company to do an analysis. Meanwhile, company B, who is competing fairly, doesn't get that material. Turns out company A now starts getting a lot of contracts, defense contracts, and becomes a multi-billion-dollar company, while company B, who never had the advantage of having that material, goes into bankruptcy. Hundreds of people lose their jobs, and stockholders lose their investment. Keeping in mind that both companies are supposed to be treated fairly and have fair competition when it comes to U.S. government contracts. Now what? Now what happens? Where's the liability? And by the way, now these companies are doing good things for the United States, but they got there because they had an unfair advantage, competitive advantage, potentially. Again, I'm not. This is hypothetical, right? Where's the liability there? You're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars worth of liability. And who made those decisions to do that?
Yeah, so he's imagining a desire for retribution. So I think Lou is picturing, what's going to happen just when the words come out, and based on those words that describe what the government did, there are going to be companies who are going to realize why they lost, and they're going to want to sue and all this stuff, Like I said, I don't see this as a big problem, but the reason I don't is because I'm hoping that at the same time that the information comes, the technology comes. So people will be focused on getting better and coming out of poverty and all that stuff. And so if that's the case, that would ameliorate the desire to, get back at people and sue. I mean, I know it's financial as well as, they're angry that they didn't get fair treatment, but I think that's a small problem. By the way, the other amnesty issue just popped into my mind again, and that was really just for the people that originally decided to go rogue and just no longer report to the government, to Congress, and to the president, and just keep it completely secret. Those people that made that decision are going to need amnesty as well, even if it was a bad reason that we think that they chose to do that. And it certainly was a bad outcome for us because they're holding on to technology that could have prevented all of this suffering for the last 70 years medically. I mean, I'm telling you, the technology, I don't know. I know we don't know how to make it, but it's in use already covertly. And, the idea that these people would be happy to just let the rest of the world suffer while they go off and supposedly save the planet with their little super secret space program bullshit. And I think it is bullshit. But something's going on. I'm not saying these people are lying. They've been involved in something. But I almost feel like it might have been a big psyop. I just don't know. Okay, so also the idea of forbidden topics. So I don't think the forbidden topic is that aliens are here and that they're real. I don't think that's a big enough scare. So I think what Lou's thinking there, what he's referring to, is something more along the religious lines. And maybe you'll pick that up on some of the clips coming up. Let's go to the next one. And this one's about amnesty. So good. We've already talked about that. Let's see what he says.
Wants their pound of flesh. That's not going to get us anywhere. We need to be adults about this, and we need to have a conversation that if you really want the truth to come out, you better be willing to compromise. We're not gonna sit there and put people to be eaten by the lions just to satisfy someone's ego or beef that they might have with somebody else. The truth is more important than that. This is not about see, I told you so, or being vindicated. This is about having a conversation that can affect all of humanity, and we have to be willing to set aside some of that, if you will, and understandably so. You've got lots and lots of decades worth of people covering this up. I know there's a lot of animosity and resentment as a result of that by people saying, you've been lying to us for all this time, but we got to be willing to put that aside if we really want to move forward, in my opinion.
We will.
You're referring to animosity from the general public, or animosity from some of these wolves?
No, general public who want their pound of flesh because people have been covering this topic up for too long. No.
Yeah. Well, I love the fact that he's sensitive to the fact that, there's a lot, we've been lied to for a long time. But, Lou, think of it like this. We're about to find out that we've been lied to about religion as well. Not by God and not by Jesus, but by mankind who, instead of seeking out the complete truth, instead sought to fill up the holes of their understanding with bets on what might be the truth, and then they just went with that. And so I've always said, let me just come on back to you here. I have always said that I think the biggest problem is going to be the religion situation. And of course, back when I was thinking about that, I was thinking that, in fact, I used to think that, and maybe this is true, I used to get the feeling that Black Ops, the ones who know all about this, the secret space program and all of that, I got the feeling that they had learned a forbidden truth, and that it probably wasn't a truth, but they thought it was. And that truth being that God is not real, that what we thought was God was actually extraterrestrials. And in their minds, I think that invalidates the whole thing, and it doesn't. It just makes it more real. It makes it more like, oh my God, it really did happen. He really was here, And the Old Testament is a record of the interactions of a race called the Elohim, who made us in their image by mixing their genes with the apes, all that stuff. I can live with that truth just fine, as long as I know that the promises of the of Jesus, namely a happy, life after death, a happy eternal life after we pass on from here. That's a great promise, and I'm looking forward to it. I think our adventure is just beginning. That's why I'm excited about all of this. Now, the people that are going to be the most angry about religion taking a turn like this towards the truth are the Pharisees of old. It's the exact same thing. It's like what they're really angry about is that a truth is making them irrelevant now, and a truth that is becoming clear. That the Elohim were in fact a race. But that doesn't mean Jesus wasn't here. It doesn't mean Jesus hasn't been given great authority by his Father, whoever that is. And none of the good stuff about the story of Jesus is gone. None of it is invalidated by him being maybe a little bit more of the Elohim blood type than we are, but we're definitely related. I think the only advantage Jesus had was a telepathy, so a communication channel, but nothing better, nothing greater than that. Other than that, he was just a normal human. And I think that was important, because he did call himself the Son of Man, not the Son of God. He once called himself the Son of God, and they sought to stone him as soon as he said that. But his usual reference to himself was Son of Man. Why? Because he wanted to stress that he really was a Son of Man. Not some highfalutin angel from above. He was an ordinary human being with a communication channel, and that's it. But yeah, I've always said that what they're going to do, the religious folks in the leadership positions, is they're going to all of a sudden, one of them who's in the know about the Book of Enoch is going to say that that all of this alien stuff, the extraterrestrial, they're all demonic. They're all of the devil, and they're all here. They're coming out now at the end of the world to just ruin everything and destroy everything, and they're evil, and you should just avoid them. That's what they're going to say, because they want control of the people. Or they might actually, for a minute, believe that they're right, but if they ever met one of these extraterrestrials, they would have another thing coming, because nobody comes away from a contact experience thinking that they are evil. It doesn't happen. Even Jim Sparks, the one who was the most angry at first, saying they are evil, and then after a few years, he specifically retracted, said, yeah, I used to say they were evil, but now I see that actually they were just taking care of me. So he was the one that was most wanting to say that they were evil. This was a long time ago. But that's going to be resurrected. We're going to see a big outcry from the religious folk that these extraterrestrials are evil and they're of the devil. And I'm not sure how big of a problem that's going to be, but it's definitely going to happen. It depends on how fast everything else moves, right? If the world is changing and we, like there's a great influx of blessings from above in whatever fashion that may come, then things will be okay. So, well, so let's skip to 52 minutes where he again talks about amnesty and truth and reconciliation, and also that Harry Reid is a true American hero. I'd agree with that, by the way. Let's go there and watch that little clip.
Okay. This question comes from James Shamsi. Ross Coulthart said it would be good to offer a deal to those who kept the program secret. They get some immunity in exchange for getting us the truth. I think he referenced truth and reconciliation. Would you guys back a change.org style petition for this? Do you think that the others would like it?
Absolutely. I think Ross is 100% correct. I think we need to offer amnesty from
Yes.
criminal and civil prosecution.
Right.
If we want, them to come out of the shadows. There's a lot of pressure right now. And I'm sure they don't, whoever's part of that cabal doesn't appreciate that type of pressure. And so if we could offer some sort of, truth and reconciliation, I think something to that effect would be very helpful in this cause, and say, look, we're not going to label you. In fact, we'll give you anonymity and confidentiality. What we'll do is if you provide us this information, we'll make sure that, kind of like a witness protection program, except for, no one will ever know you were part of this except for very few people. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, it is.
I think that's what we should be doing.
Yep.
Ross suggested in the previous interview a hashtag called NASA Tell the Truth. And so we ran with that. And part of that was tongue in cheek. But then it had me wondering, well, what would be an effective way of getting this information disclosed quicker and more truthfully?
Okay. So, yes, amnesty. He does mention Harry Reid, but I don't want to abuse my fair use policy. So I'm just going to, because I'm not sure how much further along that part came out. I'll just repeat what he said. He mentioned Harry Reid in passing, and then he came back to it and said, which, by the way, is a true American hero. And, Harry Reid was the one who got the $20 million in funding for his program, for Lou's program. But the next clip here is, okay. Now, so Lou is not all, warm fuzzies, even though I love, if you watch this interview, go to Curt's, YouTube channel and watch this interview, because it's really good from start to finish. I mean, and what you'll get from it is you'll get more of a sense of where Lou is at spiritually right now, and he seems to be in a place that is very good. For a military man, he's got this great balance now between matters of the heart and matters of the truth and disclosure. Is Lou in charge of disclosure now? Because this man has revealed so much in this interview. And by the way, Curt had the Curt had the what's the word? The smarts to put a little textual note at the beginning of this interview saying that the reader, the watcher would be wise to read between the lines because a lot is being disclosed in that way in this interview. And he's absolutely right. And the only reason that Lou has to play it like this is because his superiors are insisting on it. It's not like he's withholding so that he can, cash in on some big, no. So he's a good man. He is emphasizing love in his life, working on that part, trying to be a better person. And I think he is succeeding. He looks very likable to me. I wasn't real familiar with him until now. This is part, by the way, 2 hours and 45 minutes. This is just part 2. Part 1 was also 2 hours, I think. So, and the reason why he came back and was willing to do this much more was because of the genius of Curt Jaimungal, the rising YouTube star who has just reached 100,000 subscribers and was pouring out his gratitude briefly but strongly, which he always does. He's a good man, a filmmaker, I think, originally. This will be now his role, I think, from here on out will be to interview people. Yeah, that's it. Thanks. I'll be here all week. Hope you're being entertained, folks. But I do want you to stay with me because Lou is going to change gears here and call somebody out. Secretary of the Air Force Kendall, for saying that UFOs are not a national priority. Apparently, Kendall has been one of these people that what Kendall said was that, well, since your task force has already admitted that they're not a threat, then and since we haven't seen anything that was like a blatant threat, therefore we're not going to prioritize cooperating with your little investigation of UFOs and stuff. We're just not going to cooperate. We're going to stonewall you. And if you ask how come we're not making ourselves available, we're going to say that it's not a priority for us. There's no immediate threat, so it's not a priority for us. So we're not going to give you the information that the American people's asking for. No, that's the wrong answer. And Lou calls him out. Let's go to that one. Where are we here? 54 minutes and 40 seconds. Okay, so I can just keep playing this one here.
Well, NASA, look, you guys, it's working. NASA is now starting to have conversations, and the director of NASA himself is beginning to entertain questions about this topic. So I think that's great. I don't think that's tongue in cheek at all. It's working. I'd give yourself a big pat on the back because I just saw a headline 2 days ago where he's talking with Abby Loeb, and they're going to be having this conversation. So, hey, look, don't look now, but you just achieved part of what you're trying to achieve.
Thank you, Lou. What would you recommend? What's another avenue? So Storm Area 51 is a horrible idea by many accounts.
You're going to get a bunch of...
Okay, so I'm not sure what we just... I think I have the wrong time code here. Let me go a little bit further and see if it's coming right up. This is where I'm looking for him, where he's going to call out Secretary of Air Force.
Young kids in trouble and
petition. Truth.
Have to start continuing. We have been victimized too long by our ignorance. We have allowed people to get into the government that don't have our best interests at heart, that are motivated by politics and not diplomacy, and where information is traded like a commodity. And so secrecy is something that is abused for the wrong reasons, and I think that's problematic. There are some points of light right now in Congress on the other side of the aisle, Marco Rubio and some other folks now. How you make a difference, and tells them, thank you for doing this conversation. And the more they hear from the public that it's okay to pursue this, the more willing it means a lot to them. And Chair of the Air Force, Kendall, with all due
There we
respect, in the top cover to start asking the hard questions, and it gives them the motivation in the top cover to start asking the hard questions and start poking the executive branch in the chest and saying, all right, what do you know about this? And oh, by the way, Secretary of the Air Force, Kendall, with all due respect, they'll come back and say it's not a priority just because, we can't prove it's a threat or not. That's like saying a submarine pops out of the Potomac River next to Washington, D.C., and because it's not wearing an American flag and you don't know if it's a threat, it's not a priority. That's the wrong answer.
That's right.
That's again, with all due respect to Secretary Kendall, lest we forget who you work for, it's not up to you to decide what is a national priority.
Woo!
Let me remind you, it's not your Air Force, it's
That's-
our Air Force, and you're doing a job we told you to do.
Mm.
And if you don't want to do it, or you are or unable to do it, then we'll find somebody else who can, and you can go back to doing what you were doing before.
Yeah, baby. I enjoyed the heck out of that. Okay, now we're going to jump ahead about 30 minutes or so. And the word I wrote down for this segment is somber. And in parentheses, wow. So let's see what I was talking about. No,
Hey,
not
look,
that
don't
one.
look now, but you just achieved part of what you were trying to achieve.
Thank you, Lou. What
Imagine
would you recommend?
Hey.
What's another avenue?
imagine everything you've been taught.
Okay, here we go.
Imagine everything sobering.
I just want to get the question.
Relatively diplomatic person.
Yeah, let me
It's on that. Much about this UFO community, but people in the comments were saying, did he mean Stephen Greer?
Oh, okay.
Ring. Oh, I was wondering. We can get to that. And then also you mentioned that the charlatans of the world will be shown to be charlatans. And I, again, don't know much about this UFO community, but people in the comments were saying, did he mean Stephen Greer?
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you comment on that?
Do I have to?
You can be as diplomatic as you like. I know that you're a relatively diplomatic person.
yeah, let me start with by somber or sobering. Imagine everything you've been taught, whether it's through Sunday school or through regular formal education in school, or what our political leaders have told us. And yes, even maybe our mothers and fathers around the dinner table have told us, or maybe at bedtime, about who we are, right? And our background and our past. What if all of that turned out to be not entirely accurate? In fact, the very history of our species, the meaning, what it means to be a human being, and our place in this universe. What if all that is now in question? What if it turns out that a lot of the things that we thought were one way aren't?
Wow.
Are we prepared to have that honest question with ourselves? Are we prepared to recognize that we're not at the top of the food chain, potentially?
Yeah.
That we're not the alpha predator, that we are maybe somewhere in the middle? It's interesting because I was having discussion with a friend not too long ago. A really, really, we call them graybeards in the government. Really, really smart guy. I'm not going to mention his name, but I was talking to him probably a couple
Gandalf?
months ago, and this is a guy who was always paid to solve the hard problems for the U.S. government. Cold War. How do we solve that? Right? How do we do these big things? How do we go in and beat the Russians at their own game? Um, so this guy I respect tremendously, and we had a conversation. He said, Lou, mankind's been around for a little while, and for most of that time, mankind's been around. We've been smack in the middle of the food chain. We've been, we ate a lot of things, and a lot of things ate us, and that's just the bottom line. And about 70,000 years ago, something fundamentally changed. Something changed, and our species was instantly catapulted to the very top of our planet as far as predatory animals. And now all of a sudden, we became the most feared. We were the most lethal and the most successful. In fact, most of the large species that existed on this planet went extinct because of us. Believe it or not, because we started eating all of it. There were a couple species that did very, very well.
Okay, I don't want to abuse my fair use policy, so I'll cut it there. But wow, and yet what I'm hearing there, tell me if you're hearing it too. It seems to be saying something along the religious lines and the origin of man and why we were created. So, I mean, the Sumerian texts talk about us being created as a kind of a worker race. And if you look at the story of Adam and Eve, it's kind of interesting because Adam was created outside the garden, and then the Lord God planted him into the garden and put him in the garden for the purpose of tilling it and keeping it. So he was created on a whim, I guess, according to our Bible, but according to the Sumerians, they more stated it more accurately or more honestly, saying that we were created as a slave race to help them with their heavy labor, which was mining. And who are they when I say them? Well, they were called the Anunnaki. And they could be, the Anunnaki could be the Elohim. I'm not sure. But I'm leaning in that direction. So, yeah, that part kind of, when I first heard it, it really gave me and yes, I think we are ready to have that conversation. I think I can help because nothing that is good about any of our religions is obsolete now. Not at all. For Jesus was not the only being who held those philosophical positions that he held. Those are good positions that people all across the galaxy, I'm sure, hold as well. And there's, maybe there's evil out there as well as good, but I think to assume that what we see here on Earth is a microcosm of what's out there might be depressing. And I don't think that God's universe is that depressing. So, besides, the only thing we've got, what do I want to say? The secret space program is the only source that seems to suggest that the world out there is a dangerous place full of, you know, domineering extraterrestrials. So we just don't know if that's true, but that, you know, all the secret space program people say that. There's one more clip that that I want to discuss before we close. And yeah, always be closing, right? It's the mouse. It's giving me a little grief here. Okay, that was, yes. So if we go to 137, we're going to see that, there's my notes. You can just see them right there. Curt says of Neil deGrasse Tyson, give love and forgiveness despite having derided our field all these years. Larry says Curt may have only recently realized himself that this field was real. So he has empathy on this. Okay, yeah. So you all know Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? The black guy in science, and well, he's uncomfortable right now, as many in who poo-pooed the UFO topic are now uncomfortable as well. I can tell you that, yes, my first reaction to seeing this was anger, because I was not sure who was going to win this turn of events here in the world. The skeptics or the truth. And now that I'm not so worried about the skeptics maintaining power, now I can turn to address their feeling that they have been misleading us, inadvertently or not, probably inadvertently. But there was probably no denying that he could sense when, well, within the entire scientific field, you know, your colleagues would have, you know, rejected you if you were on to the UFO subject, which it blows my mind that we could be so manipulated like that by other humans, maybe. I don't know. But to be that wrong, wow. Anyway, so back to Neil deGrasse Tyson. I just saw him, by the way, give a recent interview. He had a black, a guy hosting a YouTube channel, so, and he was on that channel, and so they got to let their blackness come out a little bit, and it was fun to watch that, that camaraderie. You know, they totally, like, were supportive of each other's views on this, and but you could see the tension in deGrasse, and because he's about to find out that in his hubris, his scientific hubris, he misled the American people and said that, you know, we were too easily fooled by just simple things that we haven't seen before. You know, it pisses you off, right? I mean, we've lived a life of that. If you're a UFO believer, you know, you can't really bring it up. I was told to take it off my resume because when you list your hobbies, I listed UFOs. A friend of mine said, you might want to take that off. People are going to think you're some kind of nut. And that was, just 10 years ago or 15, about 10 years ago, I think. 15. So thank God we've come a long way. But the good stuff is still ahead. Right now we're in the crazy phase. Everything is terminal. Our government is terminal. Our institutions are terminal. Our jobs are terminal. Thank God 3 times for that. I mean, thank God for all 3 of those things. Because you don't want to go on. There's nothing to... Okay, if you'll pardon my indulging a little bit. We really can't go on like this. And everything is falling apart. And it's interesting because we're taking it in stride. You tune into the mainstream TV and you see they're still, like MSNBC is still stuck on hating Trump. And CNN is stuck on hating Fox. Fox is stuck on hating everyone else. And nobody's really saying, is it the end of the world? But it feels like that to me. I mean, I've been around, I'm 64, and I've never seen the world like this. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean that I've never seen so many people say that they have never seen something like this in my life. The more you hear that phrase, and we're hearing it a lot now, I've never seen the likes of this, First it was the weather, then it was the presidency, and then it was, now it's UFOs, and I'm so glad to be alive at this point. But yeah, hopefully it won't get too ugly. But darkest before the dawn. If you need some hope, if you need something to hang on to, trust me, something good's coming. Something really good's coming. Imagine retirement, early retirement. Imagine moving up into a nicer place. Imagine the smile on your wife's face, and you haven't quite seen that smile since you guys were young. Because she can sense that things are going to be so much better from here on out. There's a lot of mind healing that has to happen too. A lot of forgiveness that has to happen, but that can come easily because forgiveness is not, it's not a muscle sport. It is a task of understanding. Once you understand, once you walk a mile in their shoes, it's easy to forgive. Once you understand how they could have done that, it's easy to forgive. It's easy to forgive those in disclosure who are fighting against it. If it comes out and it hurts them in some way, and they lash out at us. Well, no, wrong train of thought there. As long as we're the ones that are in control and not the ones who kept the secret for all these years, with them we're going to be fine. We're not going to be that angry, because finally we're getting, the relief that we need. And if what I'm saying does not come to pass, then, well, first, it would be nothing new, because I don't know shit about anything, really. I don't know what's going to happen. But I can tell you that at least I have spent a lot of CPU cycles on it, so like deep thought, the computer. So if you want my opinion, if you want to know what my spirit is telling me, it's that I was born to be here at this time, and that I would love nothing more than to be able to just go door to door and hand something out to them, like a gold brick or something, Here, this is from Jesus. But, so good things are coming, folks. We have allies, believe me. You don't have to worry about our military taking care of us like we need their help. God, no. No. And we have allies, the ones who created us, for, they're still around. Don't know where the fuck they are. But I know they're still around, so if there's some bad ETs out there, our captain can take care of them. So, sorry for that divergence there. Let's just hear a little bit about deGrasse Tyson and what they have to say here. And then that's at 1:37. So let me... Okay.
Accusations, I think is there's an old saying, and I'll see if I can remember it, that ye be careful of the knife ye uses to stabbeth the back of others, for surely that knife will be used against you in the future or at some point. So,
you botched that.
Anyway, being just, right, karma is a bitch.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mother Nature has a vote. She's got a way of always squaring things up at the end. Mm-hmm. And, that's what I've seen anyways.
Remember earlier I was asking you, what can we do as a culture? I think based on some of your statements, what we can do is something like we've already been doing, which is keep talking about it so that we can destigmatize it. I know that I don't particularly like the word destigmatization. I think it's been taken by certain people, but essentially to destigmatize. However, there does seem to be the tendency from those who are believers in, or who are part of the UFO community, who deride people like, see, Neil deGrasse Tyson and other skeptics deride the UFO community. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they should do that. But then I also don't think that they should be met with condescension as well, because I think that comes back at you. I think that love and extending an arm and an olive branch is what will...
Curt, you're right. You're absolutely right. Let me, if I may, that's a good point.
Yeah. So what I wanted you to see there is not only the beauty of Curt Jaimungal's soul and his thinking and his mind, but also to see, and you haven't watched the whole interview, but what you'll see there is that Lou is like I said earlier, he's turning towards nurturing his soul now, and and becoming a nicer, better person, more enlightened and more loving. And Curt just one-upped him because Lou had, I think, mentioned something that we're not going to see here, but it's in the interview, and a little bit of, anger at people. But you see here, as soon as Curt says, I don't think that they should have derided us, or derided the UFO folks, but I also don't think that we should meet that with a response of derisiveness and contempt or whatever, because that will come back at us. And he's right. Such an important point. It's the way to break the chain, in this case, is to meet, now that it's over, now that we're not in any more pain from being, the black sheep and the ones who believed in this stuff before anybody else did, and getting made fun of for it, and really just feeling like outsiders because the rest of the world was not interested in any of this. So it's good to see Lou taking taking a tack in life towards the spiritual. I really like that. I don't even know what else I was going to say, so, because I'm getting kind of tired, I think. So in my notes, I said, Curt says of Neil deGrasse Tyson, give love and forgiveness despite having derided our field all these years. And Larry says, Curt may have only recently realized. That's right, yeah. So Curt is a filmmaker by trade, and then he began to do interviews on YouTube and was interested in lots of different things. And this particular topic he was smart enough to latch onto because he started realizing there was something to it, but he never knew that until just recently. And so, in a sense, he's admitting that he has empathy for those who didn't believe this, because he only recently decided to look, and guess what he found when he looked? Just like the story of C.S. Lewis. He set out to prove that the Bible was just baloney, but ended up becoming a Christian after having read it. So don't know how I got onto that, but yeah. Oh yeah, Curt having empathy. So yeah, and that reminds me of the story of Phil Kraft, who was a retired LA Times copyright editor who did not believe in God and did not believe in UFOs. But then he was abducted, and for a particular reason, they wanted him to write a white paper or be an ambassador for contact or something like that. But anyway, when Phil, kind of recognized that he was wrong on both counts, UFOs and God, he felt really stupid. So there's a lot of atheists in the world today, and who could blame them? I mean, if you haven't had a personal experience yet, then, and your life has been shitty, who can blame you for being an atheist? Although it seems like the typical atheist is more like an up-and-coming little yuppie who's doing very well in science and hates subjects like religion because it's just a bunch of shit. And they're right, religion is a bunch of shit. But the truth is beautiful. So, I think that's enough said on Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's a good man. So, let me leave you with, let's go back to the subject of being warned and not messing with the powerful elite who have so much to lose from disclosure. Let's just watch this cute little clip here. Would you please open the link? Oh, I see why I can't. Very confusing. Okay. You'll recognize this, I'm sure.
The final revelation is at hand. I have seen the shattering fulgurations of ultimate clarity. The light is impending. I bear witness to the light.
Right this way, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Beale. They tell me you're a madman.
Only dizzle to relieve.
How are you now?
I'm as mad as a hatter.
Who is it? I'm going to take you into our conference room. Seems more seemly a setting for what I have to say to you. I started as a salesman, Mr. Beale. I sold sewing machines and automobile parts, hairbrushes, and electronic equipment. They say I can sell anything. I'd like to try to sell something to you. Valhalla, Mr. Beale. Please sit down.
So this is Lou, okay, at the end of the table, and this is the Pentagon, the ones who are against him.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature, Mr. Beale, and I won't have it. Is that clear? You think you merely stopped a business deal? That is not the case. The Arabs have taken billions of dollars out of this country, and now they must put it back. It is ebb and flow, tidal gravity. It is ecological balance. You are an old man who thinks in terms of nations and peoples. There are no nations. There are no peoples. There are no Russians. There are no Arabs. There are no third worlds. There is no West. There is only one holistic system of systems. One vast and immane, interwoven, interacting, multivariate, multinational dominion of dollars. Petrodollars, electrodollars, multi-dollars, Reichmarks, rims, rubles, pounds, and shekels. It is the international system of currency which determines the totality of life on this planet. That is the natural order of things today. That is the atomic and subatomic and galactic structure of things today. And you have meddled with the primal forces of nature. And you will atone. Am I getting through to you, Mr. Beale?
Mr. Beale. Isn't that great? If you haven't seen the movie, it's Network. And it's from the 70s. You got to see it. Way ahead of its time. All right, that's going to do it for me. I wore myself out. Hope you enjoyed that tonight, and I will, say that this has been Larry Gurnt with another episode of Emerging Truths, and I will see you next time and in heaven. Good night, everybody.